Internet. This is DTNS Live for Thursday, May 1st, 2025. It's May 1st. You know, I'm very confused. But from Studio Animal House, I'm also Sarah Lane.
From Columbus, Ohio, I'm Robb Dunewood.
And I'm the show's producer, Roger Chang.
Daily Tech News Show Live is made possible by its listeners. Thanks to all of you, including Mike Cortez, Erwin Sturr, Ken Hayes, and Gary Williamson.
Hey, thanks to all of you for supporting our show. My screen went blank right before the show started, like 0.5 seconds before. So that's
the power of the Leto.
It's just jam-packed, Sarah, with all the news we have to talk about today because there's so much going on.
Jared Leto, I summoned him and he shut my screen down.
Say it 3 times real fast.
I was clicking around. I don't know why you thought I was, being idle. But listen, this is DTNS Live, the show where we discuss the tech news to help us all understand it a little bit better as we do it together. How is everybody doing? Robb Dunewood.
Doing good. Like I said it yesterday, this is a good week for some reason. I'm enjoying life this week. It's thunderstorming outside, and I'm still happy-go-lucky. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Oh, thunderstorming. Well, hope the power stays solid and everybody's safe. But yeah, a good thunderstorm. Have not seen one of those in a while or heard one. Roger Chang, how you doing?
I'm okay. I think I want a bananas Foster now because we were talking desserts. It's kind of like talking like desserts before dinner, and now you just want to skip straight to the dessert.
Oh, these banana Fosters I'm looking at look delicious. They look so good.
These guys were talking about banana cream cream pie before
I
I even joined the chat earlier, and I was like, "What are we talking about?"
Yeah, I was confusing bananas Foster with banana cream pie. I kept meaning to say banana cream pie, but I was saying bananas Foster. So when I finally looked up bananas Foster, I was like, that's not what I'm talking about. But that looks delicious.
Now, how do they differ?
Well, one's a pie.
Yeah, the other one's kind of like caramelized bananas with ice cream and walnuts or pecans or something over it. Yeah,
that's a whole thing. Yeah. Good stuff. We got Amos running the boards behind the scene. So Amos, I want to know your banana thoughts as well. But in the interest of time, we all are here for tech news. So let's get right into it with the quick hits.
In the ongoing Epic v. Apple case, the U.S. judge barred Apple from charging commissions on purchases made outside its app store and from limiting how developers direct users to external payment methods, calling Apple's resistance to a prior injunction willful. This could upend Apple's control over app transactions. The court also referred Apple for possible criminal contempt. So the judge is serious on this one.
Indeed. Related, Epic CEO Tim Sweeney says Fortnite will return to the U.S. iOS App Store next week following the court ruling against Apple, but only if Apple agrees to extend the new commission-free framework worldwide. Epic's proposed model would have users buy V-Bucks through Epic's website with no cut going to Apple. Now, if Apple agrees globally, Epic says it'll drop all litigation and restore Fortnite everywhere.
Scopely announced its game Monopoly Go surpassed $5 billion. And I'm having the same screen blinking out as you, Sarah.
Oh, yeah. Well,
my
it's one of
screen
them
is
days.
just gone.
It's thunderstorm. Blame the thunderstorm. Blame Jared Leto.
Can you finish the read for me? I have no screen.
Go ahead, Roger.
The game has seen 500 million in-game connections and 20 million players active in its community channels. Scopely plans to roll out new board designs, enhanced player versus player mechanics, more tournaments, and updates to its sticker-style system as part of its third-year roadmap.
Yeah, and the whole thing with Scopely is Monopoly Go. I know many of you play it. It not only surpassed $5 billion in just 2 years, but that's faster than any other mobile game in history. So, hey, people like Monopoly Go. Good for you, Scopely. Moving on to some not great gaming news. Polygon has been sold to Valnet and has laid off much of its editorial staff. Co-founder and editor-in-chief Chris Plant, along with many senior writers and reporters, confirmed their departures on social media. The sale price was not disclosed, and the layoffs weren't mentioned in Valnet's press release about buying Polygon. Polygon was founded in 2012 by Vox Media.
NVIDIA is rebuffing Anthropic's claim supporting stricter U.S. AI chip export rules, calling Anthropic's allegations like hiding chips in prosthetic baby bumps or with live lobsters tall tales. Anthropic is reliant on NVIDIA hardware and has urged for tighter restrictions to protect national security, saying compute access is the key checkpoint in AI. NVIDIA criticized the policy as anti-competitive. The export rules take effect May 15th.
Oh my goodness gracious! When I read this morning, I was like, have I had enough coffee? Prosthetic baby bumps. However, we know that things do sometimes get smuggled in creative ways. Not saying this is what NVIDIA is doing here, but bold claims by Anthropic.
Where do you stick it in with live lobsters? Like, where would you put it?
I don't even know how live lobsters are. I don't know. I have no idea.
I had the thought of chip mules jumped into my mind as I'm reading through these stories about what they're saying. It's like, literally, is this what we're coming to now? People are going to literally be smuggling these things in. There's going to be a special compartment on backpacks and suitcases for chips.
Well,
I was just thinking,
if you've got a sniffing dog, who can sniff out drugs, like they're not going to sniff out the chip. That pregnant lady, walk around through. Although I have questions about that too. I don't know. This is an ongoing one. Meta reported Q1 revenue of $42.31 billion with an ad revenue of $41.39 billion. Daily active users up at 3.43 billion and Threads with 350 million monthly users. Meta raised 2025 capital expenditure guidance to as much as $72 billion to support AI infrastructure, while cutting total expense forecasts a little bit. Although, not pretty rosy numbers all around, but Meta's Reality Labs posted a $4.2 billion loss. Google is expanding access to its AI mode chatbot in search, making it available to all Labs users with no wait list. We were talking before the show. I've been using it for a bit, so I've got some thoughts here. The update adds visual cards for places and products, showing details like a restaurant review or store hours or prices for a product and local inventory. A new desktop search history tool will let users pull up past AI conversations, and U.S. users not in Labs may start seeing AI mode in search soon because it's rolling out still in testing, but rolling out ahead of a wider rollout. I think I'm the only one on the panel today who's been using this, right?
Yeah, I have not started, but I might go check it out now.
Okay, so this was, I don't know, maybe about a month ago. I signed up and I was granted access to AI search, AI mode rather. And what it is it's really just a tab. If you go to Google search, right? It's like you've got when I go to Google search right now, let's just do this. It's you've got images, you've got videos, short videos, news, shopping, and then you've got that more tab that gives you maps, forums, web, books. So that's the Google search that we know. AI mode now is the far left of all of these. So in a way, it's sort of like, want to try AI mode first? And I have been playing around with it. I don't really feel like this is all that different than any other chatbot. I threw some questions at it this morning just because I had almost forgotten it was there, to be honest. I said, what's a cool car? Tell me the coolest car in the world. And, it did what a chatbot would do. It's like, well, it depends on what kind of person you are and what kind of car you're looking for. You're looking for a classic car, you're looking for a new car, et cetera, et cetera. But it gave me a bunch of stuff. I was trying to get it to give me, so I was like, okay, if this is something that would be like a product-based feature, because we all use Google a lot for that sort of thing, how does that work? Like, all right, I'm looking for a new cat litter box. What are some options? Then I got some direct links to things. I think that AI mode is fine, but I also feel like it's kind of just thrown in there because we all use Google search the way that we use Google search already.
Well, it feels less integrated than you would imagine because I've just been using for the minute you were discussing with Rob, and it works, but it just feels like an adjunct. Like if you were to build an addition to your house, but you really just all you did was stick like bolts of shack to the side of your house. It doesn't feel like it's an integrated element in the same way that even images and videos feels integrated into the Google search experience.
I think that Google, unlike really anyone else that is building search into their chatbot, they've got a concern that these other companies don't have. Google is also Google, and the verb for searching for stuff is Google. So they have to respect that. So I think what Google has to do is they've got to play in this area where we don't want to make it so different. We don't want to jar you to where you just stop using it and go use something else because you didn't like the interface. They're trying to ease it on. But I know we're May 1st, not like December 31st, where we do predictions. I think that this is going to be the new way that search is done. Now, it's probably going to still take some time for Google to 100% get over to it. But I think that the distinction between do you search on Google or do you search in Gemini or do you search in their chatbot or whatever they're calling it, I don't think that those distinctions will exist too much longer. You will just go to search and Google will figure out what type of result it gives you based off of what you asked it. I think that ultimately is the best way for it because you don't want to make people have to think about, do you want to use Google's chat bot to search for something or do you want to use Google search to search for something? You just want to search and get the answer that you're looking for. And I think that ultimately is what Google's trying to get us to.
It's funny because I actually think their design implementation is actually spot on because what you were saying is you go, and for Google, the main place you go for search is Google, right? And so, but having it as one of those tabs, it makes it just an ancillary, oh, now I want to see what the chatbot says. Oh, now I want to see what the images, I want to see what the videos are. So you're sort of already trained in the UI of using it, and it's a nice addition. But as I've said, for example, I did a search, two different searches. I did a broad search, for example. I did a search on like who did the voice of a character on this cartoon, and it gave me the actress's the name in the general search, and I could click over the AI, the chatbot, and get an answer there. But if I searched in the AI chatbot, for example, for something else, that search query was not reflected across the rest of the tabs. All the tabs still had the old search results that it provided. So, and that's what I mean. Like it doesn't feel integrated; it just feels sort of bolted on for the time being. So, I assume once they figure out what the public perception on this, they'll do something a little tighter with the current Google platform.
I didn't really do this on purpose, but when I was trying to ignite AI mode for the purposes of this conversation, I was just like, I just need to type in something. So I typed in Sarah, and lots of different responses, many of them biblical, came up. But I also learned, thank you AI mode, that National Sarah Day is June 26th.
Huh. Oh, you got time to prepare. This is
not a thing I've heard before. So I was like, maybe AI mode is doing a little hallucinate stuff. So I went to like regular old Google search and I typed in National Sarah Day. It's like June 26th. Sarah is one of the most common female names in the world. And
my point is, why couldn't you just hit over to Google search and have that result already, right? Like
but when I went to AI mode, it gave me something that I didn't even know I wanted to know. When I went to Google search, I was trying to be like, is that true? Let's see who else is talking about this. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And this is a very, a silly version of, how you might want to, figure out if something is true or not. But yeah, different.
It is a interesting distinction, though, because when you go to Google search right now, that's not something that's being generated. That is something that it is literally being linked to. There is a page that is talking about Sarah Day being in May, or being in June rather. Whereas the AI is literally generating the content based off of scanning things like that web page that you were linked to. So those are interesting differences. And I think just over time, they are going to start to disappear. I think you're just going to go to Google and you're going to search for something and you're going to get all the stuff that you're looking for. And Google's going to try to do really cool Google things and just be good at figuring out, based off of what you asked, here is the information you're looking for, without making you have to think about it, more so than just clicking a tab on the type of information you're looking for.
And X10011 in our chat says, doesn't AI mode give you citations? It does. Not for every single thing. But for example, for the Sarah Day, there was a citation to let's click it and see what goes on here. Yeah, it's like Wikipedia, Our Today, and Facebook. Again, do your own research. But yes, citations are there for some stuff, not for everything. Again, still testing. It's interesting. If anybody is like, oh, I love this, and here's why, do let us know. Maybe we're missing something. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. All right, Rob, we've been talking about tech products being on the rise when you want to buy them. And here's a good example of one of those.
Sarah, we knew that we would eventually start seeing some prices on electronics specifically increase rather substantially depending on where they were made. And to that tune, Microsoft has increased the price on Xbox consoles, accessories, and games by greater than 20% in some cases. So let's just start off with the Xbox Series S. Used to be $300, used to be $299. That has gone up $80 to $379.99. The Xbox Series X was $499. It's gone up a clean $100 to $599. And the thing is here is that we've known about tariffs. We've known that prices were going to go up. But in a lot of ways on electronics, you don't necessarily think about, this thing costs $17. Now it costs $21.04. You don't really feel it that way. Initially, it takes a little bit of time. But when you're looking at an Xbox, because Xbox is something that a lot of people generally know how much they cost. Well, S is $300. It's not anymore. It's now $380. That is significant. That is math that people will do in their head. Yet two things are different. 300 and 380 are very, very different numbers. 400 and 500 are very, very different numbers. So it's just interesting now that I think we're, to that point where, with these new tariffs that are now our new existence, that you're going to see devices that are created in China are going to cost significantly more. And as I said, the Xbox is not the first thing to, get this. I first started noticing with Anker devices back on Amazon. I think Anker is one of Amazon's biggest retailers. And I get batteries and plugs and cables and all kind of stuff from Anker all the time. And those things are usually a little bit less expensive than an Xbox, so you don't necessarily notice it unless you're going to try to buy maybe a battery backup that was $100 and now that thing is like $124. Like, wait a minute, that's a heck of a lot more. So the tariffs are here. We're seeing them, and I'm questioning, how is this going to look going forward? Because some things I would have to imagine we're not going to be able to afford them, or the distributors are simply not going to be able to afford them because of just 145% if it's coming out of China, and literally is an embargo.
I will add that this isn't entirely a tariff story. This is also just a generalized inflation. One of the things that anyone outside of the U.S. will notice is that for the longest time, technology has been incredibly cheap in the U.S., whether you're talking about Apple iPhones, Apple MacBooks, video game consoles, PC components, any of that stuff, super cheap, because outside of the U.S., those makers have been increasing the prices to match inflation. The U.S. has been spared that for quite some time. Some would say even through the pandemic, while prices did spike a little bit, they didn't spike as dramatically as they did outside. So this is a combination of price pressures that have just come to a head, and Microsoft isn't the only one. Sony had to bump up the price on the PS5 as well, where this is like, we can no longer eat the cost because it cuts into the bottom line of the actual operating business revenue. And so this is just the outcome finally. That's something that a lot of other countries have been seeing. For example, Jan Cutter, who lives in Canada, was mentioning she had to save like $1,400 for a new iPhone, and not even like the super top end one. I mean, it's just a lot that we have been
we
spared.
were talking to her on Tuesday about this.
And we've been spared a great deal of that for that time, but I guess that sort of grace period has come to an end, and we're going to feel the pain just like everyone else.
Yeah, one of the things that illustrates your point, Roger, is that games are also going up. And you think, well, wait a minute, the games, most people download their Xbox games.
Yeah.
You don't physically get something shipped from overseas for that. You still can, get cartridges, or not cartridges, you can still get disc. But most people are downloading their games. So why are those things jumping up? It's because of the inflationary costs that you mentioned. So yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of things come together, and you're right. Companies are simply they're to a point now, we cannot eat these costs. We've got to pass them on to, our customers. So things are going to be different in the latter half of this year than they were in the beginning.
And think about, a new Xbox comes out, right? And
This economy?
We're just, let's think,
$76 billion
in an
shares for new
alternate
Xbox.
universe. But it's like, what will it be priced at? And we all, working and talking about tech all day, kind of have this is probably the price point. And we see this with products all the time, where it's either like, ooh, that seems pretty affordable, or I don't know, I think the company is really overestimating, what people are going to pay for this. Companies think really hard about this stuff. So this new scenario of, well, here's what it used to cost, and here's what it has to cost now, and how do we basically make the consumer pick up the difference, but also explain that in a way where it's it doesn't seem like the company's doing something wrong. That it gets very complicated.
Nintendo is very shrewd in this, right? Because they boosted the price of the Switch 2, not the Switch, and so they can make that argument. It's a new generation of gaming platform. You're segueing into the future.
Yeah, you're getting the better Switch.
Yeah. But the bigger question for me is the software developers. For the longest time, a lot of big game publishers, ones for AAA titles, where you're talking about Call of Duty, Halo, any of the Sony stuff, Nintendo first party games, they have always been pushing the boundaries, right, to get the best looking graphics, the best, biggest, deepest story. Costs a lot of money. So much money that some studios are going broke after they publish a game because they can't make enough back in revenue. So my question is, do those publishers now say, hey, wait a minute, instead of targeting the super high end, we just target the middle, right? Yeah, the games won't have ray tracing to the 9th degree, maybe a little bit here and there, but we're going to make games that run on lower spec hardware because we can sell more of it even at a lower price. Because moving forward, people can't afford the new GPUs that are coming out for PCs. I mean, you try to look for a new NVIDIA RTX or a AMD video card. Good luck to you, especially if you want to get it at MSRP. And then the game consoles are going up. So everyone's like, well, what can I play on the hardware I have right now that will play, right? That's not going to require me to upgrade any of my hardware. And I think that's where you'll start to see some of the shift happen, where you see game publishers just like, you know what? We'll just target something that had specs from 2022, right? And then we'll be assured that there will be customers ready to play those games because they can play it on their existing hardware.
You make a good point, Roger, because I wouldn't consider myself a gamer any longer, although I do play video games multiple days a week, every week. And I waited forever to get a Xbox, One X. Or Series X. It took me forever to get it. I just got it in November of last year. And the only reason I got it is because one of my Xboxes died. And it's like, okay, I'm just not going to keep, buying power supplies for this thing that is old. Let me just go get a new one. But for me, it was like, well, there's no reason to go to the X because the games that I play, they play just fine on the one that I have. I don't need all the new graphics. I haven't started getting any games that say they only run on S or X. So that was a reason for me not to get them. So you make a good point that there may be developers that say, well, wait a minute, there's a lot of old hardware out there and people probably are going to be more happy to hold on to it just because of the cost of the new hardware. Let's make games for them. And you might see them actually, be able to turn some of their numbers around.
It's funny that you mentioned anchor products, Rob. At the beginning of this conversation, friend of mine who he's very deeply entrenched in all things tech, had sent out a group text to a bunch of us who just talk about tech. Like, if you have that anchor product that you like, you better buy it now before tariffs go up. And I was like, are they going up more than 20%? And he was like, I don't know, but if you like these products, I mean, now's the time. I think that there's a lot of kind of what do we do? Hedging bets with a lot of stuff that people are having to deal with.
Yeah, it's interesting. Will people do that? Maybe some will, but companies definitely are. Companies like, hey, we need to go and get these supplies now while we can afford them, because we're simply not going to be able to in 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. So let's make the purchases now. So that is definitely happening.
That's why you're putting chips in live lobster deliveries.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
It's the future of shipping.
Well, folks, we listened to our supporters because we make this show for you. So if you have a few minutes, please fill out our annual DTNS survey. Do us the solid and go and fill that thing out. It lets us know what you like about the show, what you don't like about the show, lets us know how we're doing, and it really helps us shape the show going forward. So once again, if you could do us that solid, please go fill out our survey. You can find it over at dailytechnewsshow.com/survey.
No secret to anybody that ads power a really big number of business models, from web blogs to news sites and search. We talk about this all the time. But CEO of Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, has a plan to do away with that. Roger, what is going on here?
Yeah, so in an interview with Ben Thompson from Stretchery, Mark Zuckerberg outlined in the interview, it was a very interesting thing. He outlined Meta's strategy to kind of automate the entire process of advertising. As he describes, he wants to control and shape content creation, the creative, the targeting of ads, as well as the metrics. How do you measure how successful an ad is against the return of people clicking on things to buy? And what was interesting is that The Verge picked up on this story and described it as a way to use generative AI to produce all the stuff from start to finish. So you would have generative AI do the product shots or do the product images, videos of the product, write copy that you would have maybe a podcast read, put together a number of ads for different target markets, and then target them at those people at different platforms. For example, if you want to target your product at sports lovers, you write copy that focuses on the athletic nature of the product that you're selling, whether it's a jacket or something. And then you can use AI models to measure the performance. How well did this ad do against this market? And then you measure it on the number of people who click on buy on the same platform, right? Like, hey, I'm using a Meta platform. They really like it. They're going to click on a product, and it sends them to the product site to click buy. And the whole thing is that it just encapsulates what used to be basically 3 or 4 different separate groups that handled all this into just one automated system. And I was wondering, I mean, this sounds interesting in an interview, but feasibility-wise, in actual real-world practice, how effective do you think this would be? And would this put off people like on the receiving end? It's like, another generative AI ad. I'm just going to, my eyes glaze over, not going to pay attention.
I feel like this is the hellscape that ads have already been for some time. So what Meta is describing, if I understand this right, Roger, is that Meta is saying, hey, small business, we can just sort of do the whole thing for you. You have a product, send us a photo. We'll make a variety of photos. We'll, throw them over on Instagram, and and we'll have, I don't know, an AI generated model be like, this is the best sweater I've ever owned. Yeah. And that's what I hate the most about ads already.
From an AI standpoint, or actually I should say from a Meta AI standpoint, this makes perfect sense in that world. It's like,
yes, it does.
I think that Mark Zuckerberg thinks about things. We make a lot of money, but we don't make all the money. What could we do to make all the money? Well, right now, businesses don't go to Facebook. They don't go to Meta to get the ad made. They generally work with someone else. They have somebody internally do it. They go to an ad firm. They make it. Meta is saying, well, that's money that we don't generate because we're not making those ads. So what if we can displace those folks? Well, we don't want to hire people to do that. Can we do it with AI? Well, let's try. Let's see. Why can we try and see? Because we got 1 billion people that are currently using our Meta AI, whether it's via WhatsApp or Messenger or Facebook or Instagram or whatever the case is. They're already doing it. So let's just see if we can try, because if we can actually get good enough to where you will have a small business owner, maybe even a medium-sized or large business owner, say, hey, Facebook, you just take care of it for me. We ultimately make more. But right now we're making money off of, serving the ads. But if we can make the ads, we're going to charge them for that too. So I think from a Meta standpoint, it makes perfect sense to try to figure out, we've got this AI, it can do these kind of things. It'll get better at doing these things over time. We've got all the signals. Why not? Let's see if we can actually cut out the people who make the ads and we actually make them ourselves, and then use our metrics, use our data that we get to determine which ads are working. And at the speed of AI, modify them, update them, fix them so that they ultimately are working better, which ultimately means we're going to be able to charge that customer a little bit more because, hey, your ads are doing really well and you're getting click after click after click. Yes. So it makes sense to me from a Meta standpoint.
This is like the Meta's singularity point, where you condense everything that can be done online into Meta, like Meta's platform. And I'm curious to know ultimately how effective this is, because, advertising for products is half the story, right? The product has to be good. If your car constantly if your car models constantly go up in flames and like people drive off the road unintentionally, it doesn't matter how good your advertising is. People are going to catch on that it's a bad product. Now, it might work for a few things. But even on YouTube, I noticed, like what Sarah was alluding to, there's some ads for example, cutting knives that you use in the kitchen. I've seen the same ad from like 4 different ways that they've done it, and it wasn't AI, but they've shot it in 4 different ways. It's like, it doesn't make me want to buy it, in the 4 different ways. None of them have appealed to me. I think they're ridiculous because the ad copy is so over the top.
They use the same tactics every time. Yeah. It's like, finally back in stock, America's #1 knife, where people were like, ooh, it was out of stock, now I should buy it. Like, you have no idea how great this knife has, changed my life with my family. I mean, it's all the same. It's the same trope.
And there's going to be a point where, even with the addition of AI, generative AI, it's not going to get any better, because if all you're training it on is the same generic slop, that's all you're going to get in return. And I see this as appealing to what you were suggesting, Larry. Smaller businesses, maybe, I have this cool product, I need a way to reach everyone. But if you're a larger firm, you might be a little less blasé about who runs all this stuff, because ultimately you want the control.
You're probably
you want the control of the messaging.
You're hiring some marketing firm anyway, right? So if Meta is like, we'll do it, and you're like, I don't know, same clicks type thing. Not every company is going to feel exactly the same way about this, but I can see a lot of companies just being like, let's just do that.
I see this as that sort of strata layer in the soil, oftentimes where they show you where the dinosaurs died, the extinction event, and everything else they came after. There's going to be a line between the people that use it and the line and above it where people use something else.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's one of those things where, in the real world, I'm not a fan of this, because it's just like you're just giving the walled garden more stuff that's inside their walls. But from a Meta perspective, this makes perfect sense. It's like, we can make more money if we actually don't just serve the ads. If we create the ads, we can charge the same customer twice. That's more that adds to our bottom line. And I think that is a big part of what they're looking at here. And you have to also, remember, Meta has a very, very large, bit of investment going into AI. They have we don't think of Meta a lot when we think about AI. Usually it's Google, usually it's Perplexity, usually it's OpenAI, definitely. But Meta has a billion people using their platform. So they've got people using it, they're getting signals, and if they think they can build ads and ultimately displace a company that would do it and make that money, that's ultimately why I think they're going after it.
I would also add a warning that if they clutter their platforms with a lot of this stuff, it might turn off those people, because there's still TikTok, there's still YouTube Shorts, there's still YouTube. There's plenty of other avenues. And while
But they
Meta,
all have ads too.
yeah, but they won't be these ads if they have a particular look, feel. You know what I mean?
I guess. I don't know. I feel like
could deal with the old guy, the 70-year-old guy showing how to do like bench presses on a kitchen chair and showing you like how great physique he is. But I mean, advertising is such a mercurial thing. This could end up being an Edsel.
I feel like ads on the internet these days they're pretty cut and dry. It's always like, your favorite sweater's back in stock, or click this link, and then, it's a listicle. Oh gosh, no, and hopefully you'll click on an ad, what you go through these 20 photos. It's all very, I don't know. I find the whole thing exhausting.
Just what worries me most though is if they do an AI generated influencer, and as a
AI
no. But I mean, but just imagine if there's one for everything you had to sit through.
Well, honestly, sometimes I will I'll watch an ad, and maybe sometimes I'm like, this is a product I would buy anyway, but I'm just annoyed at the ad, and it's like some a man or a woman just being like, I thought that mayonnaise was just not for me, and then I found this mayonnaise, and oh my gosh, boom, my life changed. And I don't know who these people are. Everybody has to get a paycheck, right? But for this to become an AI thing, I think is the future of ads. And I don't like it, but I think that's what it is.
They're definitely going to try, because at the end of the day, a marketer, if they create an ad, they want, by the 13th time you've seen it, you either want the product and you're going to make a purchasing decision, or you've decided, I can't stand this ad and please don't show it to me anymore. And there's a button you can click so that it goes away, so they don't actually charge a customer for someone who clearly doesn't want to see it. But
right.
that happens somewhere between 7 and 13 times, because most people don't even perceive ads the first time they see them. It takes 3-4 times before you even perceive that you've seen it. And it could take 7 to 13 before you make any type of decision on whether you want to buy, or I can't stand this ad, please never show it to me again. And I think that Facebook, or Meta in this case, is trying to, can we get customers to that more quickly? If we can charge them more. And that's what we're about.
Yeah. Well, we haven't talked about Pinterest here on DTNS Live lately, so let's talk about it today. It's rolling out global AI-generated content labels to help users identify or avoid AI-modified images. So if I'm looking for a new couch, which I actually kind of am right now, is that AI-generated image a real couch that exists, or does it just really look good in that Pinterest page? Pins identified through metadata or AI detection will show an AI modified tag going forward, and users will be able to filter out some AI images in categories like beauty and art using a new See Fewer option. The move comes after growing frustration from some users of Pinterest and artists over AI images flooding that platform. An appeals process is available for mislabeled images as well. So if you're like, oh, that's AI, never could look that good, and someone's like, no, that's literally my living room, that would be your appeals process. Rob and Roger, how often are we using Pinterest?
I'm not a big user of Pinterest. I use it around holidays, my anniversary, and my birthday, because it's like, this is how I'm able to tell folks what I want and see what they want. But my wife, especially and my youngest daughter, Pinterest for my youngest daughter, it might be one of the things she uses most. Instagram is probably number one. Pinterest is probably number two, in front of TikTok. She's on that platform all the time. And I've heard her say, it's like, you got to make sure that stuff's not fake, because there's so much AI generated stuff. So if you're looking at a product, it's like, does it really look like that? I want to see a real picture. I don't want to see the AI generation or AI generated image of something that is real. I want to see the thing that is real. That is a real problem on these platforms. I hear this from my daughter, and whenever I hear something from my daughter, I try to take a note of it, because she really uses the platforms that she uses. So this is probably a welcome feature add to a lot of people on the platform, because she has told me more than once the AI slop, as you referred to it, Roger, is definitely a problem on Pinterest.
It is one of the things that AI slop is sort of one of the things that really has degraded sites like DeviantArt, where it used to be sort of a online portfolio for people to showcase their work, whether it's photography or digital art or videos or anything. Now it's like 80% just generative art, which is cool for people who maybe lack the artistic flair, but a lot of it just looks the same. And unfortunately, Pinterest is sort of falling into that. I use Pinterest not a lot, but I use it regularly because I usually cull images I use or look for images that I use for Tom's Top 5 through there. So like old magazine ads. And sometimes when you're looking for there's a lot of things that seem tangential, but you can clearly see they were AI generated. And it can get kind of frustrating when like half your search just appears things you can't use. It's like very spammy, and I think having something like this will go some way. I don't think it'll go a long way to kind of help alleviate a lot of users' concerns with it. But at the same time, there are people who are just unscrupulous and know that certain people will fall for an image, whether it's flatware, furniture, clothing, apparel,
will fall for anything.
And really,
you could say the sky is falling, and half the world would be like, "Whoa, let's retweet."
And this is the thing, right? For a lot of people who run these things, they're small operations. They just, even from 1,000, they just need one person to go click on one thing to kind of make it worthwhile. And
This sort of reminds me of as somebody who is a renter, an apartment renter, and so and I'm not currently moving apartments, but I just look at apartments all the time. It's just one of the things that I do because this is my lifestyle. And you'll see the living room and you're like, oh, that's AI. That's definitely not a bunch of furniture in that room. That's just what they think the room would look best as. And that doesn't bother me. That doesn't, I get it. I'm like, well, I mean, it's going to be unfurnished anyway when I move in, right? So what does it matter? But like, I get it. You're showing me the ideal way that the furniture would be placed in this room. The room exists. Everything in the room does not exist. Pinterest is also a very aspirational place for a lot of folks. Rob, you're talking about your daughter. It's like, if I have a board where, I have pinned a bunch of things that, again, going back to, the new couch, it's like, I can do that and just kind of use it as a reference or just, something that is just mood related type stuff. I don't think it's unhealthy to have AI stuff be part of that. But when you're ready to buy, that's where it gets tricky, right? Because Pinterest, a couple of years ago, gosh, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago now, started to add, if there's a product that you like on someone's board, then you click through and you buy that product, and Pinterest gets some of that revenue. So if this stuff is fake, I don't think it serves Pinterest at all.
No, it won't. In fact, it probably harms them because
harms them, and this is one of the reasons why they're doing what they're doing, because they see what what their end users are saying. It's like, we don't like this stuff, and AI is not going anywhere. We will continue to use it for a lot of things, and that's just going to increase. But we are getting to where people are saying, "No, I want something created by a human." I know that this art looks really, really good, but I want something that an artist actually painted as compared to something that AI thought that I would like. And people are making those decisions. Not everyone, but there definitely are some. And in the case of Pinterest, I do believe that it is just there's so many folks are saying, "Can you just show me the real couch? Can you show me the real T-shirt that I might buy, not the AI generated version of it? I want to see what this looks like in the actual world that I live in."
Yeah, because people aren't. But when you buy something, it's not going to be the AI generated version of it. It's going to be the one that you're going to sit on, or the one that you're going to wear. And if it doesn't look so hot in real life,
we've all been there, right? Where it's like you open up the box and you're like, oh,
it's a lot smaller than I thought.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's smaller, or oh, I thought it was just gonna be, the color is a little off, and that's gonna happen anyway. But it's really gonna happen when an AI image is like, here's the most beautiful T-shirt you've ever seen, and then you buy it and you're like, okay.
And rightly or wrongly, generative AI images have gotten to the point where they're extremely popular for people who use them, but it has a very bad taste for a lot of people who look at it, because it conjures up a bunch of issues, whether it's like, oh, you just put an artist out of employment, or it feels soulless, or there's something about it that people don't like. And I think is a lot of other services, like we were talking with Meta and marketing, the more it gets used, the more that people see it, I think there's just going to be a growing backlash against it, where people are just like, no, I don't want to deal with this anymore.
Yeah, I do not think you are wrong, because we're already starting to see that. I know now. There was a time when I was thinking about mounting monitors around and buying NFT art. And I know that that's kind of gone by the wayside, but I don't want AI generated art. I want something that somebody actually drew to put. I can't afford the print, but I can't afford the the NFT to put on a monitor that is hanging on my wall. I want the real digital thing, not the fake digital thing. So I think we're already there.
Well, you probably have thoughts on this, and if you do, send it our way at feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. Speaking of our mailbag, let's check it out now.
Simon wrote in about the idea of a tariff or tax, and he writes, a recurring source of consternation for visitors to the U.S. is the sticker shock you get at the till when you learn you must pay rather more than the price marked on the shelf. But the reverse of hiding VAT or sales tax inside European retail prices is not without criticism. The issue, though, now is the inconsistency. State sales taxes should be transparent to users. Federal import tariffs should be hidden.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. And I will say that some places do just sort of mark. They don't actually put it on the price tags, because at least in California, a lot of the sales tax are very municipal oriented. So different cities, even ones next to each other, will have their own add on to the sales tax. So sales tax might be 0.5% higher or a full percent higher, depending on where you're at. So if you're running a business, you're going around with a price sticker all the time to make sure. But yeah, there is a thing to say, like, just, when you're at the till, take the price and you multiply it by 0.1, and then you take that and you add it, and there's your full price.
I mean, this also, becomes a conversation about, like tipping, right? It's like, what does it cost? Like, if the restaurant is going to charge me however much for this chicken dinner that I'm eating, just tell me what it costs. A lot of people do say that. Now, in the U.S., we're used to tipping, so it's a little bit different. But in, many other areas of the world, it's a foreign thing. It's like, why doesn't the restaurant just pay their staff appropriately so that we don't have to do this? And kind of wonder, like, what's appropriate, what's nice, what's not.
Yeah,
were they a bad server? That kind of thing.
That's a cultural thing, and I'm neither for nor against tipping, because I worked in the food industry, and trust me, at least in California, you're paid the full, at least minimum wage, on top of the tips that you earn. Other states, not so much. So it really depends. But I think ultimately, I do agree with the transparency thing, where you should know what you're paying. And in some places, they do that. They indicate like what the sales ad, the surcharge Sometimes they add, like, for example, you have environmental charges that they add onto the bill, like a
health
hotel
tax.
bill.
The
Yeah.
health tax showed up. Not recently. It's been around for a while, but yeah, sometimes someone's like, "What's the health tax?" I'm like, "I don't know. It's for healthcare, I guess." Sounds
I would-
good, but like, where's it going?
I would love to actually know the prices. I distinctly remember when I became aware of sales tax. I remember I was like 8 or 9 years old, and I had made some money raking leaves, and I can't remember the amount of money. It might have been $10 or something like that I made over a couple of yards of raking people's leaves. And there was a toy called a stomper. It was a little truck that you put one single AA battery in. It was just a little. It wasn't a remote control. It's just you turned it on and the wheel started
I had
moving.
one of
And this
those
thing would
Rough
climb
Riders.
over anything. Great little toy. It was $9.95. I had $10. I didn't know about the 7.3% sales tax in my state, and my $10 wasn't enough to buy the toy that clearly said $9.95 on the container. So now what do I do? I'm all the way here at Toys R Us. I got my $10, but I don't have the $10.41 or whatever it would have cost to get the toy. And I was like, sales tax. These
All right,
things are
I'll put the silver lining on this dark cloud. I will say that sales tax was one of the things that sort of forced me to be better at math. Like, I had to do all these calculations in my head. I'll find all the shortcuts, right? Like before sales tax got to a 10%, it used to be eight something, and I was just like, I'll round up to 10 and then just add that and I'll figure it out. And like, I'll at least have enough to cover it. And so it's in a weird way. I often say that people complain about sales tax might not be so hot at math.
It wasn't even the math thing for me. It was I was not aware that such a thing existed. I thought that if you told me something was $9.95, that it was $9.95. I didn't know there was extra money involved.
My parents really impressed that into me. There's sales tax on top of that.
Yeah. I mean, I used to. I don't know if you guys had sticker collections, but I did when I was young, and like you would like give them $1, like a physical dollar, and then you would get some stickers, and it was sort of like, you never know what's going to be in the sticker pack, and then you open up the pack and the stickers are whatever they gave you. There was no sales tax on that. So I don't know. Depends on the store.
Or if you bought groceries had no sales tax.
In or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
If you buy bread.
Also, in our mailbag, this one actually comes from Patreon. The Fielders, hi Fielders, wanted to chime in on our discussion about making robo-vacuums do things besides vacuuming, saying, you realize that what you all want is Rosie from the Jetsons cartoon. Yes, we know. That's what we want. We just don't have her yet.
The Fielders may be right, because yesterday I was saying what all I wanted was R2D2, but I don't know that R2D2 could take Rosie. For those who don't know the Jetsons, you need to go back and watch some.
I love the Jetsons.
Rosie was a phenomenon. So
she could do it all. The
Fielders
make
may
dinner,
be right.
clean up, like. I mean, she is the robot that I think we all want. We just don't know how to have her yet. And Amazon's Roger, what's the name of the Amazon robot that's in my closet currently? Astro,
which is the name of the dog
was trying
on the Jetsons.
Was trying, yes, it was, but not quite there yet. I hope we'll get there. Remember, one more time, I will remind you, we love to get your feedback. So send it to us at feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com.
And folks, you've been submitting your show titles over at dtns.showbot.tv. So let's go through some of them. Let's start off with Search Shack by Clinton Woodward.
Search Shack, baby, Search Shack.
GPEG84 chimes in with, it's just all one big search.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's going to be. Probably eventually it's going to be. Clinton Woodward also has, would you like a price increase with that?
I like that. Oh, extra bread. Would you also like a price increase? Yeah, we're happy to do that.
Fred 819, Meta, your slop shop. And let's see here. GPEG 84 has another one here. How can we help you make more money for us to make more money?
Right. Yes. Let's all win, but mostly us.
Listen, when we win, we win.
So, Sarah, what did we decide to go with?
Oh, Rob, I'm glad you asked. Our title for today is, would you like a price increase with that? That's from Clinton Woodward. Clinton, you were on fire today. Thanks to everybody who submitted. And we love having your show titles. It's always funny to me where, someone gets a cool meme, right? Show titles being in that category of something that we talk about. I would never have said from Fred 819, Meta, your slop shop, but that's funny, and that's exactly right. Yeah, works out nicely. All right, Roger, we've got some people to thank today, don't we?
Yes, we have a stack full of people. First of all, I'd like to give a shout out to Laminar Rainbow, who gave us a raise, gave us a super chat on
thanks.
YouTube. So thank you, Laminar Rainbow. Also like to give a shout out to Rich on Patreon, who gave us a raise. Thank you, Rich, for the raise, a rich raise. And on Techno Chat, on Twitch chat, I'd like to thank Techno Mensch for resubscribing with Prime. They've been subscribed for 25 months. Zoe Breeze Bacon for being awesome and always turning us on with bits. And QWER 38456 who followed us. Thank you, one and all. I mean, your support's so amazing. It makes the show possible, but it also makes the show fun.
It definitely does. It definitely does.
It sure does.
So are you looking for a snazzy new way to show your support for DTNS, or just simply get a gift idea for a coworker or a colleague? We got dozens of ideas at dailytechnewsshow.com/store. You can pick up a mug, a t-shirt, or a mouse pad with our new DTNS logo on it. They're great looking ways to support us and to support the show. And please send us your pics of yourself or your friends in our shirts or using our mugs.
If you are watching or listening live, you might not know that we got quite a bit of financial earnings. We got Amazon, we got Apple, we got Airbnb, we got Reddit. The list goes on. We will definitely be talking about that on the show tomorrow, so hang with us. But yeah, if you're live, then you know that things are happening in the earnings worlds. But just a reminder, we are live, so you can watch us live Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 2000 UTC, and you can find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live. We're back doing it all again tomorrow with an RSA Security Conference roundup with David Spark and Len Peralta also drawing the top tech stories. See you then.
The DTNS family of podcasts, helping each other understand.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.